Everybody, peace. Welcome to the Sorry to Bother You show. Wherever or however you are listening, we are so grateful to have you here with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Kashawn Cottle, and I'm joined here today, as usual, by none other than Mr. Dre Pennington, my co-host.
Yo, what up, y'all? What up, y'all? How we feeling? How we feeling? I
Dre,
feel like, yeah,
bro, I miss you, man.
I know, man. It's been a while, bro. It's been a while since we've been just been around each other, and seen each other. It's
I
kind of
know,
crazy.
man. I know. But I just saw you like 2 days ago, so. Dre, it's
Yeah,
Sunday. What was the best
yeah.
part of your week, man?
Honestly, oh man, I got to travel a little bit, and then the NBA trade deadline was like crazy. Like everything that was happening, I was just like, oh, this was one of the best times of the year.
It is. And speaking of trade deadline, like you said, it was very crazy, very chaotic, a lot going on. And Dre, it's been a while since we had a show dedicated strictly to sports. How about we just spend today talking about the trade deadline and things that happened in trade, things we saw.
I'm with that. I like that a little bit. I like that actually not a little bit. I like that a lot. I like that thought because
Nice.
there's a lot of movement and a lot of like NBA landscape that's changed now.
Yeah. And a lot of moves that could affect free agency, even down to the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Well,
I was to say what's one of the ones you're kind of looking for that's like well
in terms of trade or player movement.
player movement.
For free agency, well, I'll be interested to see if James Harden exercises his player option in Philly. Also, I'll be interested to see what the Lakers do with Russell Westbrook during the free agency market as well. And another player, John Wall. Does Houston move on from him? Those are just a few
Hmm.
things I'm looking into.
Okay. All right.
But Dre, let's go to the epicenter of where all this chaos started at the trade deadline, and that's the Brooklyn Nets.
Hmm.
And if you guys heard on our live show, we did cover the Brooklyn Nets trade with the Philadelphia 76ers. We covered it a little bit. We didn't get into too much detail, but now that we're on our podcast, we want to really dive into this. So, Dre, just walk me through this trade. Walk me through
All
it.
right. All right. So basically, it was the Sixers get Harden and Paul Millsap, and the Nets get Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond, a 2022 first round pick, and then a 2027 first round pick.
Wow.
So the Nets, if you guys remember, um, the Paul Pierce trades, Paul Pierce and
Hmm.
Kevin Garnett trade,
Yeah.
they essentially haven't had a lot of like picks or anything like that. Like I forgot their GM name. Is it Sean something? I think I can't remember specifically.
Marks, I think.
Is it
Sean
Mark? Yeah,
Marks. Yeah. Sean
Sean
Marks.
Marks. So he went essentially from not having any picks from like his future from that time on was just like looking very dim, and it was like, whoa, the Nets are basically in uh the NBA's like down spread, like because the Paul Pierce stuff didn't work out as well as they wanted it to.
Right.
To now, hey, they're on the up and up, and the way he moved Harden was, I feel like the he could do.
Hmm.
Uh, Especially since all the reports of Harden not wanting to be there, and I guess just team chemistry and just not working out the best at that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think he won the. In my opinion, I think that they got everything they needed out the trade, especially since they got Drummond, which was what they needed, and on top of that, they picked up Seth Curry, which I think is another shooter, which is another shooter that they need.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you, Dre. The Brooklyn did win the trade, and when I talked on the air, I went into detail more about why Philly lost this trade. So I'm glad you explained why Brooklyn won it. But I just want to
Yeah.
touch back on Philly real quick. And I Dre, not to be hyperbolic, but I do think Philly made the worst front office move in the past 20 years because Dre, what is Philly right now in the Eastern Conference? Are they the 4 seed?
I think that yeah, they're
Are the
top
3 seed?
four. There might be three actually,
Okay.
three or
And
four.
did you expect them to did you expect them to be this good without Ben Simmons?
No, I honestly thought that they would be in the bottom five. Five, like I thought they'd be four and below. Uh, under the fourth seed.
I
Everything under the fourth seed.
right, right. And Joel Embiid's level of play. Okay, would you say he's an MVP candidate?
Oh, of course, 100%.
Right.
He's the best big man in basketball. Man, come on, like we're not taking that away from him.
Exactly. It's no coincidence that Joel Embiid is thriving, without Ben Simmons, right? And we expect him to be successful, but not to this extent. And the reason he's so successful is because you know how Joel is. He needs everything to be in sync, right? So not only his
Mhm.
health, but team chemistry and just overall environment structure. And so Ben Simmons, yes, brought a lot of antipathy and a lot of negative energy, quote unquote, to that Philadelphia organization. So when he left, the Philadelphia 76ers, the team chemistry started to improve and they started to play better. And I don't, as Daryl Morey, I don't see why you want to mess with that. Why do you want to shake things up, shake that structure up when clearly something is going right? Something is working in Philly right now.
I I think that since their uncertainty with Ben Simmons and the fact that they just have huge like they have to pay him that huge pay is just sitting there. They had to do something, and they knew that they just signed him to a new contract too, didn't they?
Yeah, last summer, yeah, or summer before
Yeah.
last, yeah.
So yeah, so they were just thinking like, all right, we have to get this contract off list, regardless of how like, regardless of kind of who it is. And they were talking about, oh, we'll hold him until the end of his contract type of thing, but no one wants to help. No, your cap space is hit by that time, and
Right.
no one's gonna hold that. And then I think that there's some contracts that are coming up that they're just like, okay, we have to like think about that person's contract, think about the next person's contract.
Right.
Um, and I'm shocked that they haven't moved on with I think it's not Harris,
Yeah, Tobias
the
Harris.
second Tobias Harris. Yeah, I'm shocked that they haven't moved on with Tobias Harris because what I was hearing was that they were shopping him around.
They were, but Tobias Harris is another guy that has a pretty extensive contract that would have been difficult for someone to pick that up.
Mhm.
But Dre, I don't understand why as Philly you want to bring in someone like James Harden and someone that is gonna bring a different type of energy and based on his prior record with Houston and with Brooklyn most recently, clearly he is not afraid of causing dysfunction or not causing dysfunction, but voicing his opinion when things are not going the way he wants them to.
Yeah.
And as you know, Joel Embiid is a guy that is pretty just anti negative energy. He just so he focuses on playing basketball and he doesn't like people that complain at all. And I know Daryl Morey is a GM that is very, like we said, very trigger happy and likes to pull the gun and do whatever it takes to get these big superstars. But Dre, think about it. So Philly not only hinders their chances of winning championship this year, but also they they decrease their chances of improving in the future because they trade away 2 first round picks, like you said, 122, one in 27.
Yeah, but with big, we all know with big markets, you can get a free agent.
That
Um,
yeah,
but and then who's not enticed to go play with Joel Embiid? Um, realistically, like I I don't see a person that doesn't want to play with him that wants to like have a big around that thrives off a big.
I think it has to be a shooter though. It's going to be someone that
Yeah,
can play off the ball. And
yeah,
if we're talking just strictly basketball schematics, Joel Embiid doesn't really score much off the pick and roll. He scores off of post entry feeds.
yeah,
And James Harden likes to score off the pick and roll. That's where he gets a lot of his assists and creates a lot of shot opportunities for himself. So I don't. So just schematically, I don't see how. they're going to mesh and they're going to gel.
I said that before. I was like, so again, you now have a guy that needs the ball in his hand, and you have a guy like Joel Embiid who's a monster. Oh my God.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, I'm like, I get it. You have one of the best in like 15 feet and in, one of the best scorers in the NBA.
No
And
doubt
then you
about
have James Harden. Yeah. And James Harden, who's on the perimeter from his past years, is legit one of the best scorers in the NBA we probably have ever seen from the perimeter.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
But not all the time is that going to mesh. And I'm just wondering how does like hopefully Doc Rivers can figure it out for them. But I know how you feel about Doc. It's kind of funny.
My
But yeah,
opinion on Doc has not changed at all.
yeah. So I'm just wondering like how this kind of works out because now less shooters. Because remember Curry at a point in time was I think he was leading the league in 3 point percentage.
Yeah, and I think he's shooting 40% right now.
Yeah. So like that, and then you lose a big for with Andre Drummond, who's a backup big, who was putting up great numbers for them in a short
Yeah.
amount of time,
Yeah.
and wasn't complaining about his role. He was like fine with his role, and he was trying to do him. So I'm just wondering how James Harden makes up for all that, and we'll see. I think, but they did need another guy who could like pack a punch because Tobias Harris was not getting it done for them.
So do you think Tobias Harris continues to struggle with James Harden there?
Oh yeah, I don't. He's a guy who can play off the ball, yes, but at the same time, I think he's taking significantly less shots
Hmm.
because because now you bring in a guy who takes more shots than the guys that you traded away. So
Right.
now it's like, oh, okay. So now you got to do more with less.
Yeah, that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
and the thing I'm also trying to wrap my head around, Dre, is as Brooklyn, you give up so much to get James Harden.
yeah,
And like we said the other day, Brooklyn is 13-3 when James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant all play together. They've only played 16 games together. I just don't see how you if James because I know they didn't want James Harden to leave for nothing in free agency. But I don't see how you don't roll the dice on winning the championship.
Well, the thing is, you don't want to have who was it? What situation is kind of similar that I can think of? You just don't want to have it to where like they get into a situation and then they fold because they just they weren't getting along. And one guy felt like another guy wasn't sacrificing enough. Um, one guy also felt like another guy wasn't actually there as much and wasn't
Hmm.
and like just stuff like that. And then I think that there was outside noises and James Arnier talking to him.
Hmm.
That's my opinion because I just don't see how you will want to leave the situation, regardless of if you like where you live or not. You can literally, like hearing about how hard it is from other people around the NBA. You
Hmm.
can literally just be like, you can literally get away with that for a year or two.
Yeah, yeah,
Like just put your head down, focus on your grind, and get done, and then be like, all right, I'm out.
right. But also, Jay, people have to remember, like you said, like, Harden chose to go to Brooklyn. He like
Yeah,
he dismissed Philly during the trade talks when he was in Houston. He chose to go to Brooklyn, and now he's changed his mind. I just don't, there's a lot of red flags with how James Harden operates in terms of this aspect. And I don't see how Philly is ignoring that.
yeah. I don't see how like the thing is when things get tough for Harden now in Philly, it's like okay, you can't just leave. Now where do you go? And especially if he's like if he only stays there for 6 months and it's like oh I'm about to leave again,
Hmm.
it just looked like you wasted away the Ben Simmons trade at that. Like you just wasted it.
Yeah, exactly. But not and we're not trying to fault James Harden here,
No, not at all.
because if you feel like you need to be somewhere to, cause he wants to win a championship to cement his legacy. And if you feel like a situation or environment isn't for you, then yeah, sure, you need to leave. But Dre, I will say this: James
Yeah.
Harden isn't the only one at fault here, because I know from a pretty reliable source that James Harden and Kyrie Irving within the past month were unable to be in the locker room together at the same time
Oh
due
wow.
to their antipathy or whatever they have going on. But also that relationship between Harden and Kyrie Irving ended up having a negative effect on the relationship between Kevin Durant and James Harden,
Wow.
which is also part of the reason why Harden was so inept on leaving. Because Kyrie and KD are very close, but I think KD and James Harden were a little closer just because they knew each other longer. But that there's a lot of moving pieces going on behind the scenes in that Brooklyn organization that a lot of people were unaware about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
but
No,
Dre,
no, no. Go ahead. My
let
bad.
me let me let me ask you this, Dre. So, because you're a professional athlete, you're a professional basketball player, how would you feel if you're coming into practice every day, you're playing every day, and you have a guy on the team that for whatever reason is unable to practice and play every day, what we call like a part-time player?
Yeah.
How would that make you feel?
I mean, it's because it's them and it's on the and like I understand that it's and you're in like you have championship aspirations and you're thinking like, bro, I came here because of you. Like, what do you mean you're not playing?
Right.
It would affect me in a way where I was just like I would have to say something and lash out. So I like I said, I understand hard 100%. That's like going to that's like you go to a job that your friend referred for you, and your friend all of a sudden is just like, "Oh, I'm not working there anymore." You're gonna be like, "I came here because of you. You referred me here. Like, why would you just leave?
Right.
Like now, I'm just a new person that was referred to by the guy that just left, and you're just gonna be like, you're gonna have some type of attitude towards that person because it's like, bro, you left me out on the island to dry.
Right.
So I understand. Like I said, I get it, but at the same time, it's also you got to realize, like, bro, you're there. You got to do your job. Like, and it always comes back to that aspect of do your job.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then like the thing is though, with him and KD, that's which is like I think is one of the saddest things because those two were they were part of that Thunder run, and they were the best of friends. I think their first what 3 years or so.
Mhm. Mhm.
So like that's like from the ages of 18, 19 to now, and you all of a sudden you may have just lost a friend. It's like, oh man, like
Yeah.
bro, you like you've known me for since I was basically a kid coming into
Yeah.
the league.
And I think emotions are running high right now because obviously it just happened. But I think they'll. Well, I was gonna say I think they'll be able to fix things, but now I'm thinking about past other players that have had relationships fractured due to their inability to play together or drama going on. So
Yeah,
what was but this is just nature of the game, man. Like you said, Dre, you gotta do your job. And no championship is gonna come easy, regardless of where you're
no,
playing at.
not at all.
Yeah. But
I just feel like adversity hit and they didn't mesh with it together, which is kind of sad.
mm, so maybe lack of leadership as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Both by the players and the coaching staff, right? Or what do you think?
I would say by the players, yes, because if you're if you're them, you address it as a grown man. I just don't see how you just let that keep going.
Hmm. Agreed. Agreed.
Uh,
But Dre, we should have known. And I don't want to misconstrue things. Brooklyn was my preseason pick for the past 2 years to win the championship, but we should have known something was wrong when Kyrie said that we don't really have a head coach. We're all we're all going to do this together. Talking about Steve Nash being the
that
face.
is wild. That's so, and he's at fault too. Now that I think about it, like he he was one of the guys who like I thought as a player could like would be able to like just move right in and coach. Like I thought he'd be like what's the name from the Warriors? Like I thought he'd just
Steve
come right
Kerr.
in. Steve Kerr, I thought he'd be just like Steve Kerr, come right in, gel with everything and coach and like be fine. But like so far it's been so high up and so high down. Like they haven't found any type of like real rhythm together.
Yeah, yeah, and and it's also we talk about culture too in programs and organizations. Is this not a slight on Brooklyn's culture as well to allow someone to be a part-time player after they've already made a public statement saying that if Kyrie's not going to be here full time, he's not going to play? Now, I respected that decision. I know that was a difficult one to make, but I respected that because okay, you're standing on your morals and your ethics, and you're standing by your culture. And if people aren't going to follow it, then they're just not going to follow it. But then to go back and change it, it shows that your 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 ethics and your morals can be bought with a price.
I don't know. I didn't understand that from the beginning when it first came out. I was like, bro, you might as well have just stayed. And that's the thing that I was talking about too. How there basically everything was affected. You might as well have just said like, hey, you're just gonna sit out. It doesn't make any sense to bring you in and like keeping you in and out the lineup. Like there are guys now that are gonna be like, all right, am I gonna play a lot this game? I'm not gonna play a lot this game. Like all this type of stuff. Like people's roles eventually start to change, and
Exactly.
that affects your season. That affects your season.
Right. And Dre, and I know that Kevin Durant got hurt during this time frame, but the Nets were the number one seed in the Eastern Conference on December 23rd before they made the decision that Kyrie is gonna, be playing part time. But since Kyrie has been a part time player, they've only won 3 games, and now they're the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference.
They might be even lower than that now. I think
Oh, because they lost the other night to Washington. Yeah.
they lost the other night. Yeah, so like I don't like I said they're losing to bad teams. On top of that, I just don't see how this is beneficial for them. I if I'm a Nets fan, I'm worried.
Yeah. But like you said, it's a chemistry issue. It's a chemistry thing because those guys were getting used to playing with each other and playing in a rhythm. Guys like Cam Thomas, Patty Mills, even Paul Millsap, he was getting touches. LaMarcus Aldridge, they were used to getting touches and getting the ball in spots where they normally wouldn't if Kyrie was there. And so now they're building that chemistry, and now Kyrie comes back, and now we got to bring in another superstar who is ball dominant but is very efficient. And then KD gets hurt, and so now the whole dynamics changes again. And like you said, Dre, it's very confusing.
I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah,
It's a washed year for them. It may be a washed year for them unless I think if Ben is on top of his stuff, because he solves some of their problems
yeah,
and they become more dynamic. I'm telling you, if Ben comes in and plays like I thought, like how I think Ben can play, they may sweep the Eastern Conference. They may sweep through.
you beat me
I'm so
to it. You
serious.
beat me to it,
Yeah,
man.
I'm so serious. If they get like, because we talked about it before when we said that Ben, all he needs around him is some shooters and
Yeah,
guys that want to score.
right.
And in Philly, he had shooters, but he also had another guy clogging the paint. Now there's no clog in the paint. The guy that their big does not want to like post. They don't want a big posting up. You got the greatest scorer ever sitting right there. Like
Exactly.
what? All Ben has to do now, man, is open floor and play aggressive. That's it. Like do what you do.
Mm. But Dre, let me ask you. I was thinking about this. Are they going to let Ben Simmons play when KD doesn't? Like, are they going to keep Ben Simmons on ice until KD returns?
Oh no. You want him to get in shape. You need him to play now.
Okay,
There's no shape like NBA shape. Well, there's no shape like playing shape. There's no
that's
play
true.
shape like playing shape. That's being dead serious. You
Yeah,
know it. Like
yeah,
like that first year overseas, you're just like you don't know what to expect as much. And like
hmm
you try to simulate it running and everything as much as you can, but
yeah,
there's nothing like it.
yeah. Remember how we felt we were out of shape during those first 2 weeks of training camp?
Oh my god. I was like I ran every day. Like I was like, bro, I don't understand how I'm just so out of shape.
Yeah,
And then after those like first couple games, I'm like, oh, I'm good now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that if once Ben gets into that like that shape, he'll be fine. Open floor, no paint, like nobody's in the paint for real.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah.
Brooklyn don't care if you score. They want you to score. It's cook 'em basketball there. They know offense. It's cook 'em basketball.
Vegas currently still has Brooklyn as the favorites to win the championship, and I'd agree with that. I know we just bagged because everyone's at fault here in this situation, but at the end of the day, who's going to win a championship? I do have Brooklyn winning the championship
I don't know
still.
about that, but I do got them still Eastern Conference favorite. I will say
Okay, well,
that.
I think we've killed this Philly and Brooklyn trade. I think we
Yeah.
just beat it to a pulp. But Dre, talk to me about this Portland and New Orleans trade because that's a trade that has
Uh,
not been getting a lot of attention for some reason. So talk
bro,
about that.
it to me it made no it doesn't make as much sense. And I know Portland was just trying to just trying to break everything up because at this point Dame is hurt still, and I don't know if he's coming back for the year.
Hmm.
So they were like, all right, well, we might as well just blow it up now, start all over. But Dame is what, 32?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. All right, so we have CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell getting traded to the Pelicans for Josh Hart, Nikhil Alexander Walker, Thomas Sederansky, Didi Luzada. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I don't know
Hmm.
2022 first round pick that's protected, a 2022 second round pick, whichever is better between teams, and a 2027 second round pick that is also whichever one is better they take.
Okay.
The Blazers do. So essentially, I think that they really just wanted to get out contracts and get everyone traded and get people out
Hmm.
because I think at this point they just know that they weren't reaching the finals. They weren't going to get any better, and it showed in their offseason that they couldn't do anything.
So is this a sign that Portland is rebuilding?
Yeah, this is rebuilding mode now, and I feel for Dame because I know he wants to get Portland a what's the name, a championship, but at this point, man, go ahead and call it what it is. I would say just go ahead and request for that trade. Or if Portland's real, if they really cared about him, they would trade him
But who's going to pick up that contract?
with Damian Lillard. I know one team in particular right now who would love to pick up Damian Lillard.
No, don't. I already know who you're going to say. They're
I
not.
know, I know, I know several teams right now that would love to have Damian Lillard.
But Dre, let's talk about this. All right, let's really sit down and talk about this.
Okay.
In Portland, they bring in
Mm.
Chauncey Billups, right, and they fire Terry Stotts. And I know you weren't the biggest you weren't a big fan of that move, but I feel like it was time to move on from Terry Stotts because he hadn't done anything. But they bring in Chauncey Billups, and that moment right there was a moment where they're telling Dame, okay, we're gonna rebuild slowly with a new head coach because they knew the philosophy that Chauncey Billups had in terms of more ball movement, less one-on-one play, less high pick and roll as opposed to moving on the weak side and flex cuts and screens, things of that nature. Uh, so Dame knew that he wanted to leave the moment they brought in Chauncey Billups. And then he asked for that extension as well. Was the 4 year, 200 mil
Yeah, it was like a
max?
crazy extension too. Yeah,
So this was coming from for this has been in the making for the past couple months, I think. But I just don't see if you trade CJ and but you keep Dame because Dame clearly I once again I know from a pretty reliable source that Dame does not want to be there. And
really.
he because he is trying to get adjusted to Chauncey's system, but he feels that this adjustment process is taking away from his window on winning a championship. And I just don't see how if you trade CJ but keep Dame, what does that really do? What do you where are we you're where are you at? Why not trade Dame for picks and then completely start over with new coach and new players and just build up from there? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Um, I thought that he would want to stay because I know he really loves that organization. But at the same time, he does, regardless of all the quotes that's saying like, "Oh, I'm okay if I go down as one of the like people that don't win a championship." Like everyone wants to get a ring.
Of course.
Like everyone in the NBA wants a ring. Like because it shows that you accomplished something.
Right.
Like I'm not saying like anyone who didn't win one and like accomplishments, MVPs, stuff like that. I get it, but the ring solidifies you as like you were one of the guys that won one of these, and there's a select few in NBA history that have them.
Right. But Dre, you can't tell me that Dame didn't approve of this trade before Portland pulled the trigger.
Mm,
There's no way they didn't run this by Dame.
they did, but they were probably like, "Hey, you're like," they were probably just like, "Hey, like we have to do this. This is the best we're gonna get," type of thing. But if so, why not? I said I was like, why not trade CJ for and try to get Ben? I was like, what? There's just so many other I'd said out there that would have been so much better than this one because it just didn't make sense to me, and it was so out the blue.
But you already know how I feel about this. What are you really gonna get for CJ? What are you gonna get for CJ McCollum?
If you're a team that needs that needs buckets, like you can get it. Like you're getting another guy that's a in the East. I think I'd say he could be an all star,
CJ
depending
can
on.
CJ can be an all star in the Eastern Conference.
I just think that the West is too loaded. I don't know why. It still feels like that.
Wait, let's talk about this one, man.
Yeah.
You think CJ's a all star in the Eastern Conference?
What was he having? What 20? Hold on, because his numbers are actually pretty good. So CJ this year averaging what 20 points, shooting 44% and 39% from the three, 5 rebounds, well 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Eh, maybe. I don't know if this year he could have, but in the past years he could have. He probably could have.
Okay, let's because I have the list of the all stars from the Eastern Conference.
Okay. How are we feeling about that? All right, let's hear him.
Okay, just gonna do guards. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, just guards.
okay. Is he better than Trey Young?
Mm-mm.
Better than DeMar DeRozan?
DeMar DeRozan's MVP this year. He might be MVP.
Oh, oh,
He's in MVP
he,
talks. Is he not in MVP talks?
is he your front runner?
No, no, no. I don't think he's a front runner. I don't know if he's a front runner, but he is in MVP
Okay,
talks.
I'll give you that. Yes, he is an MVP talks.
Because what was the thing? Most valuable player. He came from. What were the Bulls last
Oh, they were a lottery team, man.
year? They were lottery team, and what are they now?
The number one team in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, so that's MVP talk. You got to give it to him. And
Yeah.
doing it in a big market. So like that automatically concludes MVP like shoots in MVP talks.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Okay, is CJ McCollum better than Jimmy Butler? You're thinking about this, really?
I guess because Jimmy Butler, bro. After last year, I want to say I kind of had an eye-opening thing about Jimmy Butler because I remember being like, "Oh no, he's one of the top 15 guys in the league." And then I was just like, "Wait." I was like, Jimmy Butler hasn't like there are some things that I've like watched now, and I'm just like, Jimmy, what is going on? I think he's is he averaging what 20 points this year?
Yeah, right at 20.
And what else? Right at 20. Or what is other numbers?
Let's look it up. Jimmy is currently averaging 21.7 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 50% from the field, 90% from the free throw line, Player efficiency rating of a 25.8, and win shares of 7.1.
Okay.
Just for context, I'll look up CJ just to show that we're being unbiased here.
Yeah, no, we're being super unbiased.
Okay, let's look up CJ. Okay, CJ is currently averaging 20 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 43% from the field, 71% from the free throw line, player efficiency rating of a 16.5, and a win share of 1.6.
Mm.
Mm.
Hey, numbers, numbers don't lie. I guess at that point,
Listen, I know CJ. I know you love CJ, man, but
I love CJ's game, man. It's so ridiculous. But I'm just saying, like, I I think in the past years, if he were somewhere else, he's an Eastern, he's an All Star. If he's in the East at some other time in the past years, he's an All Star.
I think if we were to say this 3 years ago, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of talent in the Eastern Conference right now. I mean, if
No, there is.
we keep going down this list, we still got James Harden, Zach LaVine, Chris Middleton, Jason Tatum, Fred VanVleet, Darius
Yeah.
Garland, and the only player that I'll give you,
Wait, hold on, hold on. I'll say he could take Fred VanVleet's spot. I'll say he could
no.
take VanVleet's. he he could cook VanVleet's spot.
Wait. I can't give you that one. Let's look up.
Oh man.
let's look up. Let's look up Fred's stats. By the way, Fred is one of the best point guards in the league right now. Just off his play, just off his playing style. Let's look. Okay, let's look at his stats, man. Okay, Fred VanVleet's averaging 21.6 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting
Mm,
41% from the field, 87% from the free throw line, player efficiency rating of 19.1, and a win share of 6.
mm. All
With
right.
with with Toronto being a top 5 team.
That's also very shocking. I don't think like everyone should know that that's extremely shocking. They were just lottery top five last year.
Yeah, and but I think also that's part of that is also that Siakam is getting to develop more because a lot of people were worried, but that he didn't make the leap last year. But I think this is the year he's starting to make that leap with this level of play.
I don't know, man. I'm not sold on Siakam. I think it's more so their rookie who they picked up. I think makes has made a huge difference.
Gary Trent's also been a huge difference as well.
Oh my God, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Gary Trent's been like a major difference.
And that's another. What is Portland thinking when they make? I know they got Norman Powell in that trade, but you have youth with that. And listen, Gary Trent was one of the best shooters in the league last year from the 3 point line, and he was starting to make that leap as well. So I just don't. Portland is making these strange moves that I can't quite explain. And like I said, Dre, to have things come full circle, Portland is going to end up trading Damian Lillard, um,
Yeah,
but just not now. I mean, but why not wait? Why wait? Why not trade him now?
I don't know. I don't know. That trade we seen it coming, yeah, but we didn't see like we seen the trade for CJ coming because I knew that they wanted to break their team down, but I just didn't understand the point of trading him so late. If you were going to do that, why not trade him from the jump?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, they'll say, do you have anything else on this one? I got nothing.
Who
I
wins this?
don't know.
Who wins this trade? Who wins this trade?
I guess the Pelicans because now they actually got somebody that could get a like that they I guess to put people in the seats, but like they don't have Zion. I haven't really heard anything about Ingram. Like it's just I don't know.
Yeah,
This was just a trade just to do, I guess. But realistically, the Blazers win this trade. They get picks. They get a huge contract off of their payroll,
yeah.
and they go a little bit more in youth. But I feel for their coach because he's a first year. I feel for what's the name?
Willie Green, right?
No.
Or it's on Chauncey.
Chauncey. I feel for
Okay.
Chauncey because they gave him this like the keys to to their team, but didn't tell him like, oh, we're about to blow this up.
But I think they were under. Everyone knew that. I think Chauncey was given a leash. I think they told Chauncey that, hey, we're probably going to trade Dame and CJ and rebuild, but we want to rebuild with you. There's no
Okay.
way Chauncey takes this, accepted that deal, really thinking that Dame was going to stay there.
Mm. And oh, another bright spot on this. If why not trade Anthony Simons, who looks like a starting point guard in the league, if you were going to do all this, if you were going to have a true breakdown?
Probably because you want to rebuild with Anthony Simons because of his youth, because he's just younger. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I can think of.
A lot of, like I said, a lot of their trades didn't make sense. All right. Oh, you know what trade I didn't understand at all?
What's up?
And just hear me out. Hear me out on this one. The Kings and the Pacers trade, I did not understand at all. Like 100% didn't get it, didn't understand it. It made no sense to me, and I just don't know why they did it.
Talk to me. What you got? What you got for
Okay,
us?
so the Kings traded away Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson to get Sabonis, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb in a 2023 second. I don't know. Yeah, in a 2023 second round pick. They traded away arguably their best player for that, and oh, it's my fault. And they traded away Buddy Hield, who was arguably one of their top five, like their top three players.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, I want to take Indiana side from this. All right. I
Oh,
want
they finessed. They definitely finessed.
now. Indiana is rebuilding.
Yeah.
That core of Brogdon and Levert and Sabonis and oh my god, I'm missing their fourth guy.
Oh, what's the name? They're big. Uh,
Turner, Miles Turner.
yeah, Miles Turner.
Yeah. And that core, I think they've only played one or two games this season due to like injuries and COVID protocol, things of that nature. But last they weren't successful last year, but also due to COVID and injuries. And so we haven't really seen that team be successful since the bubble season. Now,
Yeah.
I think that's a great core. I think that core could have done something, but Indiana felt like it was time to move on. And like you said, they finessed the Kings and got great talent out of that.
Oh my God. Have you watched Halliburton this season?
He is amazing, phenomenal swing player.
I and I just don't understand. Like I said, I already didn't understand the Kings organization as is because they have De'Aaron Fox, but they also have Halliburton. So like it was just two dynamic guards that have the ball in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
When they have the ball in their hands, they look amazing. I don't know. I didn't understand the point of like making that trade and trading away Halliburton. Why not? And when he's been like your best player for the longest, and he doesn't really get hurt,
Right.
and I didn't see why they wouldn't give away. I don't see why they wouldn't give away Fox in some ways.
I Part of that is because Halliburton is easier to move on the market right now
Mm,
because Fox is going to ask for an extension wherever he goes on his contract. And a lot of teams don't want to trade for Fox because, say for some reason he doesn't want to get signed an extension. Well, now he's just free to move in free agency. So Halliburton is easier to move, same dynamic skill set, and I I think that Fox is still the better player than Halliburton, and that's still Sacramento's centerpiece. And with Halliburton leaving now, Fox is there's more space created for Fox to play his game
yeah,
and keep the ball in his hands. And then they bring in Sabonis, who is one of the best low post players in the league, one of the most efficient players in the league at that.
yeah,
But they do get rid of Bagley, who is going to thrive right? In Detroit, it's a different trade they were talking about, but
Yeah.
they're moving these pieces around. They get younger, but they were already young. I I I like the moves that they made. It is a step in the right direction because they saw the guy besides Halliburton, they got rid of Bagley. They saw Bagley as a toxic person in the locker
Yeah.
room, but the players loved him. Players loved him, but
I
I like the move.
I don't like the Halliburton move, and I don't understand the Buddy Hield move because if it was that serious, there were reports. I remember at the beginning of the year that Buddy Hield could have been traded to the Lakers,
Mm-hmm.
but I think someone shot that down. I want to say that trade was stopped, but why not trade Buddy somewhere like beginning of the year? And he took a discount to play for them. And this is another reason why we say do not give your loyalty to an organization. He took think about that. He took millions off of his contract and took a discount for them
Yeah,
to stay there.
I they Sacramento saw that the dynamic between Fox and Hield wasn't working though. It wasn't producing wins. Now on paper, that looks like a good matchup, but
Yeah, but yeah, I understand that. But like I said, get something better. As you had something better at the end of the year that you didn't shoot your shot on. I
right.
don't know.
But they also clear up cap space as well by getting rid of Bagley
Yeah.
and Buddy Hield as well.
Oh yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah,
I,
but
I mean, I knew that the Buddy Hield trade was coming. I didn't expect it to be a package deal with Hield and Halliburton, which made I just don't understand that. I don't know.
so in your eyes, Indiana wins that trade.
Oh yeah. They got younger. They got uh like I said, the NBA is a guards league. They got two dynamic guards
Mm-hmm.
who are thriving off of each other. I think I may have seen more of Halliburton and Buddy Hield play than I did Fox and Halliburton and Hield.
Yeah,
And Tristan Thompson was just that. I think he was just that added bonus, I guess, to make the deal go. My dude, I don't know. I see more of him about his off the court stuff than I do his on the court stuff. So I just be like, all right, whatever, bro.
I got nothing to say about that guy. Sure, he's a good dude, but
Yeah, yeah, I 100%. I love him.
talking
Hilarious.
basketball, there's nothing
But
to talk about for him.
yeah, yeah,
But Dre, let's touch on this Pistons and Clippers trade a little bit more.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so the Clippers um send Rodney. Sorry, the Pistons receive Marvin Bagley. This is like the three-team trade that we're talking about right here. Uh, the Bucks receive Serge Ibaka. The Kings receive Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, and Trey Lyles. The Pistons receive Marvin Bagley the third, and the Clippers receive Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye. Lots of moving pieces right
Mm,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'll break this one down a little
Um,
bit. I'll break this one down a little bit.
yeah,
Uh, the Bucks receive low post presence and Serge Ibaka due to Brooke Lopez's injury because he hasn't played.
mm,
But Serge is injury prone. Serge has only played in
yeah.
72 games over the past 3 years. Uh, they lose depth at the wing by sending away Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Jackson. But like we said, the Kings get better on the wing by adding these guys. Josh Jackson, who is an amazing defender. Dante DiVincenzo is one of the best shooters in the league. The Pistons receive Marvin Bagley, get younger, maybe pair him with Jeremy Grant. And the Clippers receive Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye. Now, I think the Bucks won this trade simply by picking up Serge Ibaka.
Really? Hmm.
Yes,
You don't think the Bucks had enough as is? Like,
I the Bucks got rid of excess, so they had a lot of depth at the wing, and they trade that away for a necessity they needed in a low post and Serge Ibaka. Now, Serge also spreads the floor similar to the
yeah,
way that Bobby Portis does, but Serge is
yeah,
a
no,
better low post
100%.
defender.
I would say Surge 5 years ago. You tell me this, I would say, oh my God, that is a perfect pickup for them because now
Yeah.
you still get another shot blocker, you get another guy who spreads the floor, and you get another guy who runs the floor, and it's just like a I would say is a monster athlete, in the paint.
Yeah.
But Serge now, I've barely seen him play.
Because he's been injured, right?
He's injury prone. So I feel like they picked up a guy just because they like you said they got rid of that wing depth. They had too much of it.
Right. But let's look at this. Let's look at this trade right here, Dre. The Celtics
So,
received Daniel Tice and Derek White.
oh,
The Rockets received Dennis Schroeder, and the Spurs received Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a 2022 first round pick from Toronto, or Toronto's first round
so
pick.
did you? So I remember saying this a while ago. Does anybody remember when Derek White was going nuts with the Spurs
The 2019
when
season.
they had that playoff run and the playoffs? Yeah. So I remember saying, I was like, wow. I said, so they have one guy who's like going crazy, and I was like, and they have DeJounte Murray. I was like, how do they play it? Do they trade one away, or do they try to like play them at the same time? And I remember they tried to do it for like a portion of the time, and it just wasn't working. And immediately after that, I was like, okay, someone's getting traded.
Mm,
DeJounte Murray became an all-star this year. You're not giving him up.
no, but remember, there were questions about if Derek White was better than DeJounte Murray a couple years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So I
I
think DeJounte, I think Derek White went to a great place. And I think he's in a great system. I think he'll be great.
yeah,
Um, Especially with the Celtics who need a point guard at this point because I don't think Marcus Smart is cutting it like that.
it's it's just that Marcus Smart does. I think Marcus Smart can be a starting point guard in the league, but not a starting point guard on a championship winning team.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying like it's not cutting it.
Yeah,
Um, and you get a point guard who fills that role of okay, who's the presence out there. He calms them down, who calms down, and then like calms things down, and gets the system running because you already have two hugely dynamic players in Brown and Tatum.
right,
So I don't know. I feel like this is a good trade. I think the Celtics did a great job of picking him up,
right.
and they got ties back.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think this is a good trade for them.
I I think the Rockets obviously clear up space, and they're going to get rid of Schroeder, or they're not going to resign him at the end of the year. But I think this allows
Mm.
Schroeder to hopefully get that, not that max contract, but maybe that multi-year deal that he's been searching for after, because he hasn't played terribly in Boston. He's played adequately.
No.
Um, but obviously he
Yeah.
didn't gel well with Tatum and Brown because he's a point guard
Yeah.
that needs the ball in his hands.
And I was gonna say I didn't see that working out for him in the first place because they like just being honest, they take up bulks of the shots. Those two,
Right.
which is understandable. They are the two hugely dynamic. Like I said, they're dynamic.
Right.
They're amazing, electric.
Right.
There's not enough that you could say about them too. So nothing against that. It just wasn't a fit. It happens.
Yeah, that happens. And Dennis Schroeder isn't a good spot up shooter, as where Derek Wise
Mm-mm.
is proficient off the catch, which is why I agree with you. I think that Derek White is going to be successful in Boston, and the Spurs, they get his first round pick. That's a big deal. I think that helps them with their youth,
Yeah.
and that's something long term. Josh Richardson, another guy that doesn't shoot well off the catch, creates a lot of his shots off the dribble. He goes to a San Antonio Spurs team that will allow him to do that within the system, obviously.
Yeah. 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 You gotta be able to play in this first system, man.
You're
You can't just be out there jacking.
running the four low in San Antonio. Not gonna
Oh
happen.
yeah, no. It's not
No,
happening there.
at
All
all.
right. Another one that I was kind of shocked by, but you may have not have been,
Okay.
was uh the Mavericks to the Wizards. It was the Mavericks and Wizards trade.
Mm,
Can you speak on that one a little bit more? I didn't understand it as much.
I will, Dre. Let me put on my Washington Wizards glasses.
Oh,
All right, speak from this
okay.
perspective. Listen. So, as you guys know, Dallas received Spencer Dinwiddie and David Bertans in exchange for Kristaps Porzingis and a second round pick in this year's draft. So, Dre, what a lot of people that don't live in the DMV area know is that Dinwiddie was having issues in the locker room with other players. Now, not serious issues, but the issue was that Dinwiddie was trying to keep the team accountable for their lack of play. But it's difficult to do that when you're not playing well either. So Dinwiddie's averaging 13 points on the year and 5 assists, I want to say. They brought him in to be the starting point guard to pair well with Bradley Beal, but things just haven't played. They for some reason they just don't gel, and that's fine. Players just don't gel. But when he tried keeping the guys accountable, that rubbed a lot of players the wrong way because they know he wasn't playing well. See, that's the thing with the NBA. Players know your stats, and players know how much you're getting paid. That is a bad mix right there. Because then you can say, "Oh, well, why are you getting paid 10 million a year? You're only averaging 8 points a game." Explain that to me. And so you lose respect like that. But this was mainly to clear the locker room
Yeah.
and get rid of that. But they bring in Porzingis, and I'm not sold on Porzingis the way you are. So they also traded David Bertans, to get off his contract. He was under a 4-year, $80 million contract. So they
Mm.
clear cap space a little bit. They bring in a what you would call a post player in Porzingis, and they get rid of a player who they thought was going to gel with Bradley Beal in Washington, but he just didn't. But I think Dinwiddie is gonna. I think he's gonna do well in Dallas. We have to remember that Dinwiddie is still coming off an ACL injury as well.
Yeah. Um, and on top of that, so I think that no one remembers, but remember when Porzingis had said that him and Luca were actually not getting along, and he
Yep.
actually didn't like playing with him as much. So they kind of get that contract off, and they are. Is this contract still? This contract is still huge, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty hefty contract.
Yeah, yeah. So they get that off, and on top of that, they get a guy who does not want to be there in Dallas. They get him to leave, and they put another shooter around Luca, which is what they need.
Another playmaker too.
Bertan. Oh yeah, but they already have that with their backup point guard.
Uh, um, my man from Villanova.
Yeah,
Um,
the Villanova, the bag whose bag
Brunson.
is deep,
Brunson.
like
Jalen Brunson.
super deep. Yeah, Brunson. Yeah, it had Brunson. Brunson is like, even though Brunson is probably what 6'2", 6'1", and Dinwiddie's 6'6", I
What?
want to say.
How tall is Jalen Brunson?
Dinwiddie's like six. Is he 6'1"?
Jalen Brunson might be 5'10", 5'11".
No, really.
But that's how skilled he is. He's that skilled, but
Yeah.
definitely not 6.
Okay. We'll give him 5'11". I guess we'll say 5'11".
Okay, I'll give him that. Yeah,
5'11", 6 feet.
yeah,
But I'm saying like he's a playmaker, but he's smaller. Dinwiddie is 6'5", and he's a bigger guard.
yeah.
So I think they seen a need, and they're gonna give. And I think Brunson already got his contract, so they're gonna give Brunson. I want to say Brunson got his contract, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're gonna like they're essentially just trying to like open up the floor a little bit more with playmakers, but I now worry about Dinwiddie's numbers and his production because now he's playing with Luca, who a guy who pretty much has the ball 90% of the time.
See, Dinwiddie can shoot off the catch, and
Yeah,
I think playing with Luca is going to create easier scoring opportunities for him. And because Dinwiddie he is an efficient player when healthy. He's very efficient, so he'll be able to still produce while getting less touches, which is where a lot of guys struggle with. A lot of guys can score 25, 30 points a game, but how many shots are you taking? Are you taking
yeah,
20 shots to get 30 points? That's highly inefficient. But you see the great players like KD and Steph and Giannis, guys that can get 30 points. Kawhi Leonard, guys that can score 30 points on 15 shots, on 12 shots. That efficiency is key. And I think Dinwiddie's not on the level of efficiency as those guys I just mentioned, but he is a very efficient player who I think will still be able to produce when he gets to
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Do you? Okay, so my question is, do you start him?
So if you start him, you're talking about having a lineup of Dinwiddie, Luca, Tim Hardaway Jr., and who's their big in Dallas? Who am I? What's the guy's name?
Uh, well, it was Porzingis, but you can't. Obviously, he's gone. So do you start Bertans? I think you maybe start Bertans.
The Bertans is a defensive liability on a team that already doesn't play much defense.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you start him, but the the young man that I'm thinking about in Dallas, I forget his name, but he is a low post presence on the defensive end. It doesn't provide much for you offensively. I forget his name, but
yeah,
I believe you start him, and then you still have Finney Smith.
yeah.
Some
Oh, it's interesting to see with Dallas. I'm ready to see that. I know your Wizards glasses. No,
still
I'm not sure about y'all. I'm pretty sure Bradley Beal is done for the year.
he is done for the year, wrist injury. Yep.
So yeah, so
Uh, I think Bradley Beal is going to leave. Talking about moves that affect free agency, I think this move right here shows that Bradley Beal wants to be in Washington. He's a very loyal, talking about loyalty to teams to a fault, but something tells me that Bradley Beal is going to leave Washington during free agency this year
yeah,
and not pick up that player
it's
option.
okay. Shout out to my St. Louis. Shout out to that St. Louis native, that Missouri native right there, though. It's okay.
Oh man, Dre, we got one more trade to talk about. All right, we got one more trade to talk about, and then we'll be good. We'll be done. Which also involves the Washington Wizards. Dre,
Oh
this your boy Montrezl Harrell is leaving Washington, going to
yeah,
Charlotte in exchange for Ish Smith and Vernon Carey. Now, I don't have much to say about this trade. The reason this trade occurred is because Washington has a lot of depth at the wings position. With
yeah,
Rui and Kuzma and KCP, um, and Langford. And Thomas Bryant. I got a lot of young players at
so
that
much.
position, right?
Yeah,
And just like the problem Boston had a couple years ago, you can have too much of something, and when you have too much of it, then it prevents players from actually producing because now they're not getting a lot of reps. You know, so that's why they traded Montrez so they could free up space just for the guys to get more playing time. And Washington brings back Ish Smith, who was with them about 2 years ago. I'm not sure how much playing time he's going to receive because they do still have the youngest Holiday brother at the point guard
Oh no,
position.
they I think they traded him too.
Oh, did they trade him? Look at this. Look at
I think so. Hold on. I mean, it's Aaron Holiday, right?
right.
Aaron Holiday. Yeah, he's now with the Suns. He got traded too.
Okay. Okay. So that's news to me. But they also still have Neto,
Yeah.
the 5'10" point guard Washington does. So Ishmael will no, well, but Neto is a great playmaker, and on this team in Washington, what they want at the point guard position is someone that's going to facilitate and play make and create scoring opportunities for the shooters that they have. And Ish Smith is a great player. He's great at facilitating and creating scoring opportunities, but Neto is so proficient and doesn't turn the ball over. I think Neto retains that point guard, the starting point guard position, but Smith does get some playing time there, and he's a solid backup. While Montrez, uh, in Charlotte, he actually I obviously adds some low post presence to pair with Miles Bridges,
Yeah.
add some physicality to that Charlotte team. I think it's an overall good trade for both teams.
Yeah, and I think so too. And to be honest, have you watched have you been able to watch a Charlotte game um as of recently?
The most recent game I watched is when they played Chicago last week.
Yeah, so there were certain times where not bagging on Plumlee, but there were certain times where they would have Plumlee at the low post and he had opportunities to score. And I think this is some, like you said, the low post presence is something like that they were missing. And Trez gives that to you while also giving you some physicality off the bench. So I think that this is a good pickup for them. I think it's a huge pickup for them. Actually, I think this gives them
Yeah.
that physicality that they need, and they start to protect their star young player while also what they needed last year was because in my opinion, I think they overachieved. They overachieved last year.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
they just needed a vet to kind of talk to them in that play-in game, and they had come into the play-in game thinking it's just another regular game, and they kind of
Hmm.
just let it go because they got destroyed. So I I would say that this is a good. I think it's a good fit for them,
Agreed. Agreed.
and you get to play with Lamelo and his boy the Louisville Connect. I don't know.
Oh, that's an okay.
It's gonna be great.
All right, Jay. We're gonna let you. We're just gonna we're just gonna leave you right there. All right. We're gonna wrap things up right
All
now.
right.
Dre lost some player movement, lots of trades that can impact the free agency market, like we said. But it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how the season closes, how we go into All Star break, and how teams finish the year with some new fresh faces. But Dre,
Yeah.
that's all we have for today. Any shout outs you want to give before we close out?
Oh man, of course. Shout out to the Two Man Podcast. That's a great podcast, guys. Great listen to. Love those guys. Shout out to my guy Lord in the Stitch on Instagram. Great designer. Whatever you need, whatever you think you need, he'll design it up for you. Get it right. Get it fitted for you. And shout out to you, Kashawn, and shout out to the fans, man. We guys, thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Like Dre said, shout out to you guys, the fans. As we always say, none of this is possible without your guys' support and your guys' trust in us and providing great content. So we just appreciate you guys so much. Dre, bro, wouldn't want to do this with anyone else but you, man. So I appreciate it. Shout out to, like Dre said, the Two Man Game podcast. They provide great content and great analysis on all sports. And also shout out to Earn Figures. If you guys are looking for a way to increase your tech
Mm,
savviness and get some resume building updates and also just some insight on how to better promote yourself to companies during the job search, go to earnfigures.com. You can find them on Instagram as well. And guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on all streaming platforms. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can listen to a podcast, we're there. And guys, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our website as well, www.sorrytobotheryoushow.com, to check out our newest content and also to look at our newest merchandise like Dre's wearing right there. We are currently in the process of working on a new drop. We will drop the design for that for our upcoming release within the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. And if you want exclusive content, also subscribe to us on our Patreon channel as well. And also, oh, one more shout out. Shout out to the Tapped In podcast. Great content as well that provides insight on how to be a young black man living in America today. So if you want content on that, be sure to check into the Tapped In podcast. Great content. But Dre, great show today, man. We will be back
Of course.
next week with some more content. Also, I want to say this one before we head out. The Brooklyn Nets are still going to win the NBA championship. And since it is Super Bowl Sunday, when we're recording this as of today, I still have the Joe Burrow and the boys winning by a score of 32-27.
I got the Rams.
Anyways, all right, guys, stay safe.
28-17.
Make smart decisions. And until next time, guys, peace.
All right, y'all.